Good evening. This is KWBV, Channel 6 on the battleship New Jersey. This evening I have the opportunity to speak with Charles Captain Finch and Roger Bounds. They're both captains in the Army, and they fly out of the 220th Recon Airplane Company stationed out of Fubai, and they fly out of the DMZ. And their call signal is Cat Killer, and I would like to ask them a few questions about their job and the training they had in preparing for being a spotter with the Army. And maybe you could start us off, Charles, and just tell the crew a little bit about how you got commissioned as a pilot, yes, spotter in the...
Well, what happened was we had flown the DMZ in North Vietnam in our just 01 Bird Dogs, and generally most of what we did was counter battery, use 1.75 and 8-inch guns out of Dong Ha and the artillery bases to shoot at other guns up in the DMZ as well as anti-aircraft. When the New Jersey came on station, we used her generally to against the North Vietnamese in North Vietnam that were firing at us in Dong Ha and also at the Marines in the DMZ area. We carry a back seat who's either a Marine or an Army type, and he did most of the adjusting. We do most of the flying. We pick out the target. If we're firing into missions, we do call in the maybe one of the missions, whether it be the New Jersey or an artillery battery out of the DMZ. Captain Bounds over here to my left is probably the most professional naval gunfire man we have in the 220th Cat Killer Company. He's fired most of the missions we have had, and with pretty good success. Before the bombing halt, we had real good success in North Vietnam. Roger, maybe you could elaborate a little bit more.
Well, I haven't got much to say. The only reason I might be a little more professional is that I just happened to have a couple long fire missions, and I sort of had to weasel to get those due to the fact I have a relation on board, and it's sort of a status figure amongst the family, I guess. But I don't know what really to tell the people of the New Jersey about fire missions, what the end product of what they do compared to what we see. It's difficult for them, I'm sure, to visualize that what they do way down on the 6th deck of Turret 1 is going to do to the enemy in North Vietnam or in the DMZ or further south on a 2 Corps or something like this.
The targets that we fire on mainly up in the DMZ and we're firing at in North Vietnam usually consisted of, they have these large bunkers, whether they're concrete or wooden, that a 750-pound bomb, if it's 5 meters off, barely even rattles. And a 16-inch shell is what we need, or the amount that goes out, it just went out, is quite a factor when we put it up against these bunkers. The NVA don't like to come out when the New Jersey's sitting off there firing. We had our biggest problem flying North Vietnam and in the DMZ was we were taking so much anti-aircraft fire. The New Jersey, after it once it got on station and started firing, held this fire to a minimum, and this was the biggest asset to the Cat Killers as well as the jet fighters that we run airstrikes in up there. As long as the New Jersey's sitting out there firing every now and then, the gooks in the holes and with the flak machines and the anti-aircraft devices, they'll usually stay down, which gives us more freedom in picking out better targets. As far as using it in the DMZ now, I guess we use it against the same thing, bunkers, and they got such a great complex up there of they're living in the DMZ supposedly, and we've caught many of them out in the open there and building their bunkers, and the 16 inch is what really destroys them. It's real good. He fired the last mission, I think, Christmas Eve that we had on some bunkers.
It was right. It was early in the morning on Christmas Eve, you might say. And just the interesting thing is the firepower, the way that the 16-inch shell completely mows down. I would call it a 100-meter square area. It has a tremendous psychological effect, and it's sort of, to us, a joy to use. It's a very interesting experience to watch everything just sort of go dead when the fire mission starts. Nobody moves, and because if they did move, they would just be mowed down by shrapnel. There's no way power in their little bunkers. The place is riddled with bunkers. North Vietnam and the DMZ, it's the way they live, and this ship is an extremely effective weapon against them. Don't you agree, Chuck?
I'm sure the crew expects, I'm probably all the officers and crewmen on board, when we fire the New Jersey, expect quite a bit of gun damage assessment. And it's if you're shooting at a bunch of bunkers in a fortified area where you're surrounded with trees and rough terrain, and we fire the New Jersey up in there, it's we have to assume that you understand that when the shell goes in and explodes, that there's not much left of the area. And if when it's overline or short line, whatever it is, it's always destroying something, knocking off vegetation. And this is what the Marines like and what we like, and the fact that the NVA can't go back in that area again because it's leveled the land, the vegetation is gone, and if it's hit near a bunker, it's pretty well gone too. It's hard to imagine when you're flying up there that down there in that forest is the supplies and ammo dumps and everything else. And when the New Jersey goes in, it levels all these trees, and if we still get a good concentrated firepower, we knock out these supplies. If not, they have to move the supplies. And this is when we come in with the jets and really get them down. It's a tremendous effort that the New Jersey's put up in the DMZ, and we hope to be able to use it a lot more after the holidays.
It's a difficult thing to understand, I think, for anybody, that the fact that you're mowing down trees is really a tremendous target. It's something that is vital to the war effort. They use camouflage and cover to the extreme extent. The whole guerrilla warfare, theory of warfare is planned around covering concealment, small groups of people, dispersion and things like this. And being able to just remove terrain features denies them their most valuable asset, guerrilla warfare. So it's for this reason that we find such a large ordnance, good delivery system, rapid firepower, and so forth, such a great asset to our war against it.
What about the ricochet effect? Have you? We've heard that when a round goes in, sometimes you can see it explode in one place, and then maybe it'll have another effect some other place. Is that true? Have you seen this yourself?
We don't have it in the DMZ that much because we don't have any hard terrain. Nearly all of it's completely flat. You probably have maybe 40 meters of elevation difference between where you're sitting on the water and the highest terrain features in the eastern part of the DMZ. So it's all paddies, it's all softer, and the only hard things that you're going to see are the bunkers themselves that may be reinforced. So we don't really get a ricochet effect, and if a shell were to hit a bunker, it's too weak to begin to ricochet one of your bullets, and it just blows it completely up. So we don't have it like you would have it against a mountain or a rock island or something like this. I can imagine it would be a devastating thing, but it's too bad we don't have it. It would be very interesting to watch.
How many rounds have you called in, say, on one mission? What was the most that you did get a chance to call in?
One day up in North Vietnam, we had all sorts of things going on, and I got to fire 86 rounds, which everybody found quite astounding. I think they were pretty generous with me. We worked over 2 large Ville complexes that had aircraft positions around them, as well as intelligence had people moving in them, and very many AW positions you could pick out in bunkers and so forth. And just completely messed over the minds of these people, I'm sure, to just walk rounds right through the villages and just blowing away the terrain. I mean, houses and trees and people and all. It was a tremendous thing to work, and that was my largest mission, and it's the largest a lot of people have heard of. I was fortunate in getting to fire that many.
You have to see this to really believe the effect on it. And when we come back and give a gun damage assessment, we'll say, okay, you've knocked out 5, 10 bunkers, and you may have destroyed 3 or 4 houses and 70 or 80 meters of trench line. What you've really done, you've completely obliterated this village. You've made it just a round spot on the map. And these people have to move out. Their trench lines, it takes them 2 or 3 nights just to dig approximately 50 meters of trench. And I've seen in New Jersey knock maybe 200 or 300 meters of trench out in a single mission. And this doesn't mean much to maybe the people up there. But for us in the DMZ and the jet fighters that have to fly in this area a lot, it means a heck of a lot to them. The bunkers themselves, this is their only protection against us, and this is how they live. The individuals stay in the bunkers all night. They come or all day. They come out during the night and farm the fields, and they go back in the next day. Our job is to root them out, destroy their bunkers, try to destroy their fields, and cut off their source of living. And New Jersey does this best as far as just one single shell does more damage to them. All the artillery that we can call in from Dong Ha, the 8-inch and the 155s, 105s, they can't. They make a small impression on the land compared to what your 16-inch does. It really clears out the area. And anytime that anybody on this ship is ever doubtful about whether this mission is worthwhile or not, we'd like to take you in the back seat of a bird dog and just show you what the New Jersey's done up there. It's really good. It's something to be proud of. And you've helped the war effort. You've kept the NVA heads down once in a while when we're getting fired at in Vietnam and DMZ and in North Vietnam. And we appreciate it, and we love to fire you. And I'm sure any cat killer, some of the Air Force people say the same thing.
I'd like to perhaps point out the difference in mission that we have now since 1 November and the bombing halt, and the fact that we're not any longer going after villages in North Vietnam with their flag positions and so forth. Now that we've moved south of the river, we're going after very vital bunker complexes which lie on these infiltration routes and are used to a tremendous extent. We catch them all the time coming across. You can see their footsteps in the sand. What they do is they come across at night, hole up in the bunkers just on our side of the river, and then the next night they move out and go further south. So destroying these bunker complexes on the south side of the river is really vital to our ground troops in South Vietnam, because it's cutting off their only way that they're going to get south. They can't fly down, they can't take sampans down and try and get away with it. They have to get across the river and walk. It's the only effective way they're going to do it. And when you cut this off, you're really helping Joe Grunt. And I'm sure he appreciates it even more than we do. This is something few people understand as well.
And especially in the eastern portion. The eastern portion of the DMZ is relatively flat. And the NVA like to come down through there, and the fact that it's just about a straight shot wherever they're. If they have to go west in the hilly terrain, they've got to face two things. They've got to face a lot of Marines out there, plus all the mountains and trees and the real dense jungle. So they like to come through our eastern part of the Z, and this is where we like to level it out pretty good. There's a lot of work to be done up there. There are a lot of people coming through, but slowly but surely I think we're going to stop it. If you can imagine the DMZ, we can cover it in about from the southernmost to the northernmost in the southern portion of South Vietnam. It takes about maybe 1 minute to fly across it. And if you can imagine, it's real flat. And once they get past the DMZ, they're in pretty good territory to go just about wherever they want. And another thing is, this is where they put up all their mortars, rockets, and everything that shell us at Dong Ha or shell the poor Marines at these artillery bases. And every time we blow away a bunker, that's a couple of Marines or GIs sitting in a artillery base out there who can sleep a little safer that night. Because when they start firing mortars, they can fire artillery back, and he can't hide. He's got to run back north across the river or do something to effect that keeps them off their back for a while. And these people up there, GLN, Cantien, Alpha 3, and several of the other artillery bases, they know when the New Jersey's firing. And we've never had incoming, after New Jersey starts firing, we may be taking mortars or something. After New Jersey starts firing, the mortars stop. It's an amazing thing to watch. Airstrikes, they just shoot at the airplanes go away, and they still mortar. New Jersey just sits out there, and you watch those big guns fire, and that big, huge ball of flame come out, and they don't like to mess with it.
The sky lights up. It really does.
Well, now that the bombing halt has gone into effect, and it's been out for almost 2 months, what do you think this will have effect on the future of your missions?
Well, the L1 cat killers that fly up there, our missions are trying to stop this infiltration, if there is any, is to keep them in the northern half of the DMZ and to not allow this great buildup that they're doing in the southern part. Not a great buildup, but you can see fields that they've plowed and irrigated and planted. And this is just primarily our mission, and also in the western part of the DMZ, plus in the western half of northwest corner of South Vietnam, is where all the Marines are stationed out there trying to control information from Laos and North Vietnam. We're trying here to support them in the biggest way we can. NBA get right in with the Marines. They just come right up the hill, and they'll be at a little Marine artillery base there. And we try to keep them off their backs, and this is our main mission up there. It's just to root out the NBA. There's a lot of them up there, and it's a never-ending job. They just keep coming across and coming across.
Bombing halt makes it hard. It definitely does. It's a good gesture, a vital gesture towards peace talks, but it makes the war very hard for us to fight now because we can't go to their source. We have to wait till they come to us before we can get at them. And if the peace negotiations fail, it will be they're going to be extremely improved position in the war. But I think that with time we can get them right back where we were again. But it is making the whole job harder. From our viewpoint, from the Grunt's viewpoint, from the Jet Jock, in all ways, it's a difficult war to fight all of a sudden. Whereas we were taking it to their back door, now they're bringing in cars. It's a defensive war right now, and we hope this will see the end of it. I'm sure everybody does.
What about the altitude? What is the mean altitude that you do fly your spotting missions? Is that
Charles?
We're supposed to be at, most of the pilots in the 220th are usually about 1,500 feet. We like to get a little lower. I know Roger and I, we've been up there a pretty long time. We fly a little bit lower, except when the New Jersey's firing, and we usually stay about 10 miles away and pray that everything goes all right. Seriously, though, we stay about 600-700 feet. Of course, we're a pretty good way away from the impact when we're spotting in New Jersey. We've had occasion, we've told some of the officers here that we'll get way away from the target, and this was especially true the last time we fired in the DMC. And she'll have a long round and put the fear of God in us. You'll be right in the gun target line, she'll go right underneath of you. And it's when you're 700 or 800 feet and hear that explosion and the plane shaking, just imagine what it's like down on the ground.
You can throw one of your 20-inch pieces of shrapnel right clear through it. These bird dogs don't weigh much more than a couple of your rounds, completely loaded with pilot and observer and radios and everything else. So we're kind of fragile compared to that round, so we got to stay. When we're firing the Jersey, we got to get a little altitude and stay away from it.
And how long a period of time can you stay out before you have to go back to it?
Well, that's another bad question.
We're limited.
We're fragged for 2.5 hours, but so we can, if under extreme contact, troops in contact situation, or extremely priority fire mission, you can stretch the Oscar 1 into about almost 5 hours of flight time. But you're pushing it. You could run out of fuel and fly the airplane.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the crew, or before we have to sign off?
First thing we'd like to thank him is for allowing us. We were Christmas Eve. We were firing in New Jersey that morning, the 24th, and Captain Valens had a cousin on here, and we were going to spend a Christmas in Phu Bai, listening to the radio, I guess. And what was really great was being able to Commander Adams, Lieutenant Commander Adams, got us from Dong Ha and brought us onto New Jersey, and of course then we found out she was going into Southern 2 Corps, and then the Bob Hope show, and then the way y'all live. It was, we really appreciate you putting up with us, and it's the greatest experience of my life, and I'm sure Roger's, just being here to see what your ship does, see all the problems you had, and know that now we know a little bit of your problems, and maybe we can shoot a little bit better up in DMZ. Your people, your whole crew has shown us around, all the guns, the turrets, everything, and we really appreciate it, and I'm sure Roger feels the same.
I'd just like to add that we both have noticed how proud each seaman right on up to your commander is with your ship, and you have just reason to be, believe me. It's very interesting to talk with you fellas, to get the little tours, impromptu, that you give us, and it's been a real education, and we're going to take this back so that we've taken, 8-10 rolls of film. Right. We hope to sort of have a day off the New Jersey for our unit and explain what you people really do, how you live, what your mission is, what your problems are, and and explain your outlook on the war as well. And it's been real interesting. We sure thank every one of you for being so generous with your time and helping us out, showing us around. We couldn't ask for more.
And for Captain Snyder and the rest of the crew, we cat killers and everybody on the ground in Northern I Corps wish you all a Happy New Year and hope you come back up and stay in the DMZ and keep us safe for a while.
Well, thank you very much, Captain Bounds and Captain Finch. I'm sure everybody on the New Jersey appreciates your talk, and it's been very informative. Ken Gibson, KWBB, signing off. Thank you very much for listening.